Hello everybody. Today I just wanted to make a little video that I wanted to show off my thoughts about the rumors that are going around about what the new iPhone is going to be, the iPhone 8 and the iPhone 7s and 7s Plus, because to say the least, from what it looks like, this year Apple's going to be doing something a lot different than what they normally do every year around September. So, what I mean when I say that this year is probably going to be a lot different from what the normal tradition is, right here's the little timeline for what iPhone has came out every year, and every single year since the iPhone originally debuted, they've released a new model. So obviously, they're going to make something this year. And normally, what they do, this trend has been kind of going on since around 2010. They'll make a new phone. So they started with the iPhone 4, and they made an S model the next year. And after that, they'll make another brand new phone. They'll add an S, and so on. And that trend has been going on, like I said, for about 6 years. But this year, if things go according to plan, Apple is going to release a 7S, a 7S Plus, like most people would expect, but also announce that later in the year, they're going to also release a third iPhone that is going to be a lot more expensive, but a lot better than the two iPhones that are going to be coming out in September. Some of the more notable features that are going to be on the new model of the iPhone is a 5.8-inch OLED display, which is bigger than any of the screens that have been on an iPhone before, even bigger than the Plus models. There's going to be an edge-to-edge display, which sadly it's not curved, but it's still a nice feature. Since the screen is going to be edge-to-edge, there's probably not going to be a physical home button. So instead of Touch ID, they're going to be adding facial recognition, which is really nice. And also, wireless charging is finally going to be arriving. It kind of took them long enough. And of course, as stated before, if the rumors are true, alongside this new special iPhone, they're also going to release, the normal 7S and 7S Plus that everyone expects them to release, and they're just going to be, standard upgrades. So on the surface, these new iPhones that are going to be coming out look pretty great, but the one issue with the supposed iPhone 8 is the pricing, because what people are saying is that the base price for this new iPhone is most likely going to be around $1,000. This model that is going to be the base $1,000 version is probably going to be 128 gigabytes. And when you consider that the 256 gig iPhone 7 Plus sells for $969, that is a pretty big boost in price if you ask me. In my opinion, I feel like the price is going to start off high for the first maybe year or so due to research and development, but even after they do some cuts, it's probably going to stay around the pricing of the Galaxy S8 Plus since they need to stay competitive, and those two phones are going to be fairly similar. Now, of course, if this new iPhone 8 or iPhone X, whatever it is so expensive to the point where it turns a lot of people away from it, the iPhone 7s and the 7s Plus should still have the normal price tag that starts around $650, just like every iPhone does whenever it first comes out. But the issue here is not whether Apple is going to be able to sell iPhones and make money at all, because they will. The big deal, in my opinion, is how long is it going to take for Apple to make these new features such as the big OLED displays, edge-to-edge, face scanning, and wireless charging a standard for their phones, because other companies already have a lot of these features on their phones, especially wireless charging. Like Samsung has had that for who knows how long now. And Apple's starting to really miss the boat. So if people do not want to buy this brand new iPhone because of the high price tag, Apple's going to need to do something to get these in the hands of a lot of people. Honestly, I'm not even really doubting that this new iPhone is going to sell, because people bought the $1,000 Apple Watch and that does a whole lot less than an iPhone. So I'm sure every once in a while you'll see someone walking around with this new iPhone 8, but it's just not going to be as widespread as whenever a new iPhone comes out. Usually in the next couple of days you'll see a few people with it, and this iPhone with the huge price tag, there's a lot less people that are going to be willing to spend all of that right away. But who knows, the world of technology is always changing, so even if all these rumors are true, something weird could happen, and this could be one of the biggest successes of Apple's history. But then again, like I said, these are all rumors, and although usually about I'd say 90 to 95% of the things on this site end up being true, something could be missing. We never really know. But just to show off a little bit more about what the iPhone 8 could be used for, as we see in the top left and right corners, the little parts of the screen that kind of curve up could be used for the status bar, and then underneath that would be, the app. And then at the very bottom of the screen, there would be the little digital home button, and then there could also be two buttons, like say a back button or something else that really the developer gets to decide what it's used for. And that, I think, is a really good idea. Now, of course, like all brand new features that are usually added to phones, such as the bigger screen sizes for the 6 and the 6 Plus, it is going to take a little bit of time for developers to adjust their apps to really make the most of these screens. So, what I mean by that for the iPhone 8 is that, the little bottom parts, like the buttons, like where it says apps in all categories, a lot of developers will probably have it ready by the time the phone comes out, but some apps at the bottom, there may just be a home button, and these may just be filled with black because the developer hasn't added anything there yet. But like I said, there's not really a way to avoid that. It's just something that's going to happen. It's not even really a downfall. To go back over the topic of release dates, according to MacRumors.com, the 7S, 7S Plus, and the 8 are all going to be announced and released in September of 2017, but it is likely that the 8 is going to have shortages, and that it's going to take a little bit of time to get one, and it will probably last like that until late 2017 or even early 2018, which hopefully that doesn't happen, but if it turns out to be pretty successful, then since it's the first phone they've really had that has OLED displays, it might take some time to really get out into the market. When talking specifications, the new iPhones are all looking pretty good. All three of them, when it comes to processors, are going to have the exact same A11 chip. Kind of what we expected, because every year they move up a number. This year's not going to be any different. It's going to be more powerful, all that. When it comes to storage, the 8, the choices are going to be 64 and 256 gigs. The 7S and the 7S Plus will probably just stay the same as they were last year. And RAM, the 8 and the 7S Plus will probably have 3 gigs, and the 7S will have 2 gigs, just like the normal 7. And it's a small amount of RAM, but as we've seen in the past, Apple has always been really good at optimizing their phones for the specifications they put in them. So don't expect them to be slow at all, because Apple does a really good job when it comes to making their phones as fast as possible. One of the new colors that seems to be rumored to be on the new model is like a bronze gold type color. And from what I've seen online, a lot of other people actually really don't like it. They think it looks just not a pretty color brown, but I think it looks really nice. I don't know if I'd buy that color if I was to get one, but it's always nice to see them just expand and have a lot of more choices, because really all there is the blacks, then there's gold, and there's silver, and that's basically it. So like I said, it's nice to see them have some more variety. One thing that I thought was kind of interesting, it's not really a big deal, but they're going to be using glass backs for the iPhone 8, which ever since the iPhone 5, they've been using aluminum. But back in the 4 and 4S days, they did have glass backs. And really the only downfall, in my opinion, is that, well, there's two, that you can get fingerprints on them kind of easily. But the one I was going to note is that you can crack the back if it's made of glass, which if you have a case on isn't likely anyway, and even if it does happen, you're not going to see it, but, it's just a minor thing that some people may not like. But, I mean, like I said, it's not really going to matter whether the back's glass or aluminum, since you're probably going to have a case on it anyway, but I just felt like noting that. One last design change that I felt like noting before the video ends is that the iPhone 8 is still going to have the dual cameras, but the way it's going to look on the back of the phone is a little different, and in my opinion, looks quite a bit cooler. The flash is going to be in between the two cameras, which should even it out a little bit more. It's probably not going to be that noticeable in pictures, but it's just a nice little detail that, once again, kind of like the glass back, I thought was worth mentioning. So I've gone over the majority of the big features now that are rumored to be in the iPhone 8. Man, my overall thoughts, like I mentioned, is that I think the $1,000 price tag is probably going to limit the amount of sales. Not only that, but because the iPhone 8 is using a lot of technology Apple's really never used before, such as face scanning and the wireless charging. Even if it does sell quite a bit, it's going to have some shortages because of that. And overall, I think it's going to just take a little bit of time before these features really become mainstream for Apple. And that's not really a good thing considering, like I've mentioned, other companies such as Samsung and LG already have these out, and Apple's missing the boat. But I don't know. Sometimes you really can't predict what's going to go on in the tech industry, and I think we're really just going to have to wait and see and wait until September to really find out what Apple's future is going to look like. And also, you may have just heard my dog. He's whining. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully I can make another one like this sometime in the future. And I'm looking forward to that day, I suppose. I don't know. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.